Number 1.
Cooper was last seen at her residence at Armour Homes, an assisted living center in the 8100 block of Warnell in Kansas City, Missouri on September 17, 2004. She left there on foot and never returned. She has never been heard from again. On December 24, 1999, nearly 5 years before she went missing, Cooper was beaten, raped and robbed of $225 by a stranger in her home in the 4700 block of Jarboe Street in Kansas City. She described the perpetrator as described as an African-American male in his mid-30s, 5'10" and 160 pounds. Authorities got a DNA profile of her attacker and filed 6 John Doe felony charges against the individual. Based on his DNA, investigators determined the man had also attacked 2 other elderly women in the Kansas City area, one incident occurring as recently as 2005. In August 2007, Terry U. Birmingham was arrested in connection with the attack on Cooper. A photograph of Birmingham is posted with this case summary. He went to trial in January 2010 and was convicted of forcible rape, robbery and burglary. The attack distressed Cooper severely, and she began experiencing headaches and depression after it occurred. It is unclear whether attacker Birmingham had anything to do with her later disappearance, but authorities do not think she left of her own accord or planned to harm herself. Cooper had an active lifestyle in 2004 and utilized public transportation to get around. She frequented the Independence Square and the County Club Plaza areas of Kansas City and liked to attend cultural events. She swims and walks extensively. She has not used her passport, credit cards or bank accounts since September 2004. Foul play is not suspected in her case, but authorities believe she may be deceased.
Number 2.
Shemika disappeared from Berkeley, Missouri between 1:30 and 8:30 a.m. on December 29, 2008. She was last seen at her aunt's home in the 6000 block of Napier. That night she left the house and came back inside several times. When her family woke up in the morning, she was gone. Shemika's clothes, overnight bag and most of her other belongings were inside the residence. She took only her purse and jacket. She didn't have a cellular phone. The front door was unlocked, and there were no indications of foul play. Authorities believe she left of her own accord. Shemika's mother also thinks her daughter left voluntarily that night, but doesn't believe she would voluntarily stayed gone for as long as she has. Prior to her disappearance, her mother had caught her with a false identification card which she used to get into local nightclubs. Her mother had feared she was smoking marijuana, and she once seen her getting into a dark-colored vehicle with a much older man. The police have not identified this man, but would like to interview him, as they think he could have useful information. Years after Shemika's disappearance, her mother found a notebook which included written messages her daughter had passed to a school friend. A few months before she went missing, she had written about a boyfriend and that she might be pregnant. The police interviewed the boyfriend, but he didn't provide any helpful information. Shemika's friends didn't provide much information either. Shemika may still be in the local area. She has been known to frequent East St. Louis, Illinois. Her mother fears she became a victim of sex trafficking, but little evidence is available as to her fate. Some agencies give the date of her disappearance as December 28 or December 30.
Number 3.
Cray was last seen near the Schnucks supermarket in the 1800 block of Missouri Boulevard in Jefferson City, Missouri on May 20, 2014. He was driving a white Ford Crown Victoria at the time. He has never been heard from again, and his car was found abandoned on May 26. Cray has prior convictions for misdemeanor drug possession and property damage. His family stated it's uncharacteristic of him to leave without warning. He left behind 3 children, and his fiancée gave birth to his child a few weeks after his disappearance. Investigators believe Cray was the victim of a homicide. Adam Moore Duncan was charged with evidence tampering after he allegedly took a body, presumably Cray's, in a trash cart to Jefferson City's Allied Waste landfill and disposed of it on May 22. Richard Love was charged with tampering with a witness after he allegedly threatened to harm a person in mid-June 2014 if that person told authorities what they knew about the investigation into Cray's presumed murder. Photos of both men are posted with this case summary. The charges against them were eventually dropped, but Love was sentenced to 5 years in prison in a drug case. Cray was allegedly cooperating with police in another investigation, and the information he provided caused an individual associated with Love to be arrested. Love referred to Cray as a rat, and investigators believe this may have been the motive behind his murder. Authorities searched the landfill for Cray's body, but couldn't find it. His case remains unsolved and foul play is suspected.
Number 4.
Denman disappeared with her son, Michael Johnson, and daughter, Sherry Johnson. Denman's husband Henry Lee Harbison, also known as Henry Johnson, disappeared at the same time as his family. They were not reported missing until March 1975, 5 months after their disappearance. It was the family's landlord that told the police they had disappeared. Police found Denman's clothes still in the closet of their residence. Harbison's clothes and clothes of the children were missing, however. Blood was also found on a cushion in the home, but laboratory tests on the stain were inconclusive. It is suspected that Harbison may have murdered his family. Photographs of Harbison are shown with this case summary. He has an extensive criminal background and uses several aliases. His affiliates at the Church of the New Song claim the entire family was murdered. Denman's family believes Denman was murdered and the children were given away. Both the Independence Police Department and the FBI were involved in investigating the Denman-Johnson disappearances. The Independence Police closed the file on the disappearances, thinking the FBI would follow up on it. It didn't. The case remained closed until 2004, when it was reopened. Due to the unclear circumstances in their disappearances, the Johnson children's cases are classified as non-family abductions. Michael, Sherry, and their mother's cases are still unsolved.
Number 5.
Doisy was last seen after she left her apartment in the 400 block of Price Avenue in Columbia, Missouri on August 5, 1976. She was accompanied by Johnny Wright at the time of her disappearance. Doisy worked part-time as a server at Ernie's Steakhouse, and her co-workers remember that Wright was a regular at the restaurant and repeatedly asked her to go out with him, until she finally agreed. A photo of Wright is posted with this case summary. He and Doisy were drinking at the Heidelberg, a local tavern, the day of her disappearance. Doisy left her apartment unlocked and her cat unattended inside, and has never been heard from again. Wright dropped out of sight after Doisy's disappearance, but turned up a few days later in St. Louis, Missouri. He was 32 years old in 1976 and had an arrest record for a dozen crimes including rape, burglary, assault and drug possession. Investigators believe he was responsible for at least 4 rapes in the Columbia area. He was interviewed by police and given a lie detector test, which he failed. In November 1985, authorities issued a warrant for Wright's arrest for second-degree murder. They did this on the strength of a statement from Wright's former roommate, Harry Moore, who said Wright had showed him Doisy's body, covered by a blanket and stuffed in the back of Wright's blue 1972 Toyota, and that Wright told him he'd offed her. Her body has never been found. Moore was initially charged as an accessory in Doisy's murder, but the charge was dropped after he gave his statement. Wright's whereabouts were unknown at the time the warrant was issued, and he remained a fugitive until September 2009, when he was arrested in Lawrenceville, Georgia. He was caught after he asked the police to perform a criminal background check on him, so he could apply for a job. In the intervening years between the time he left Missouri and the time of his arrest, Wright lived in Washington State, Texas and Georgia, married and raised a family. He used the name Errol Rodney Edwards and had a driver's license under that name. In Georgia in 2007, his license was cancelled because the name did not match the social security number. He eventually got a new license under his real name. Although his defense argued that the case against him was circumstantial and weak, Wright was convicted of Doisy's murder in January 2010 and sentenced to the maximum of 30 years in prison. He died of natural causes in January 2015, still incarcerated. Doisy graduated from Kirkwood High School. She completed 3 years of a bachelor's degree in education at the University of Missouri before she decided to drop out and work. Her loved ones describe her as a sensitive, independent woman and a dedicated fiction writer with an active social life and a wide variety of friends. Foul play is suspected in her disappearance due to the circumstances involved.
Number 6.
Douglas was last seen sometime during March 1983 in Springfield, Missouri. He was performing and traveling in the Midwest with the Whitey Gleason Trio, an evangelistic musical group. Gleason told authorities that Douglas stayed at a motel in the area with he and his family. Gleason said that he and his wife visited a nearby store during the day and discovered Douglas had disappeared by the time they returned. All of his personal belongings were also missing. Gleason produced a note purportedly written by Douglas, which stated that he was planning to travel on his own and would be in contact shortly. He also thanked Gleason for caring for him. Douglas has never been heard from again. Douglas's mother hired a private investigator during the following years and cooperated with Missouri, Texas and Kansas authorities. Douglas has ties to Texas, and his mother resided in Kansas in 1983. No evidence was produced to lead to her son's whereabouts. Missouri officials received a tip indicating that Douglas may have resided in the Springfield area in 1983. The information was proven to be false. Douglas's last contact was with his mother via letter, which she received on February 17, 1983. She described her son as an independent person. His case remains unsolved. Some agencies may list Texas as the state Douglas disappeared from. Texas and Kansas authorities are investigating his case.